everyone, welcome into the Flippin Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star the Flippin Hippo. Today is December 31st. It is the last day of 2019. Tomorrow starts a whole brand new year and decade. So I want to start the video off with saying Happy New Year's to everyone. To all of our viewers, all of our subscribers, and all of our Facebook group members, thank you so much for all of your support in 2019. As I like to tell you guys, without you guys, there would be no Flippin' Hippos, and we 1000% appreciate each and every one of you and your support through 2019. I feel like 2020 is going to be a really great year. There's going to be some really great things coming to this channel and to the Facebook group. And personally, I'll be making some changes in my schedule and how I do things in the business, and hopefully be more productive on that end and be able to increase our sales and profits so that we can continue to grow. And I'll be doing that with the help of my bullet journal. You guys know I love to tell you guys all the time, everyone needs a bullet journal. You guys should definitely have one, and you should be writing down everything that you want to accomplish in 2020 and breaking that down into smaller chunks and smaller goals and to-do lists, and just getting yourselves organized and ready to tackle 2020 like a boss. If you can't tell by the title, today we're going to talk about failure. Failure is not always necessarily a bad thing. Most of the time, you're going to have to fail before you can succeed. Most of the time, you're going to have to make mistakes and do things wrong before you can look at those mistakes and say, what can I do differently? And take what you did wrong and fix it so that it is correct. We are all human beings and we all make mistakes, but not only that, any successful endeavor takes trial and error. And you have to be willing to do that trial and that error and keep getting up and dusting yourself off and starting again, and looking at every mistake and every failure as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to become better, to do better next time, to figure out what you're doing wrong and turn that around into a positive. The reason this is coming up, number one, I wanted to give you guys a super duper motivational video for New Year's Eve to get you guys amped up and ready to rock 2020. But also, Keith and I have been watching this series on Netflix that I keep wanting to recommend to you guys. And I thought about posting about it on Instagram or in the group a couple of times, but it's something I actually wanted to talk to you guys about. And yeah, it's a Netflix TV show or series that I'm going to be recommending to you, but there's an absolute reason and purpose behind it. It's called The Toys That Made Us. It is an amazing show. It's, number one, so interesting. Number two, if you are around my age or Keith's age, like if you're anywhere from 30 to 50, I would say, if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, this show is so fun to watch. It's interesting, it's fun. They take toys that were popular in the 80s and 90s, the entire toy line, and they dedicate one entire show to each one. So there's one on Star Wars, one on Star Trek, G.I. Joe, Barbie, My Little Pony, Ninja Turtles, even the Power Rangers. And they go back to the beginning of how these popular toy lines started and what the creators did to get them going. And the common thread that I'm seeing through each of these episodes, regardless of what toy line or toy company it is, I'm seeing failure. Many of these toy lines almost never came to fruition. Many of them were turned down. I believe it was the Power Rangers creator who said for 8 years he pounded the pavement and knocked on the doors of toy companies, showing him his idea for a TV show with a toy line connected to it for the Power Rangers, and he was turned down for 8 years. And look at how popular the Power Rangers became, and still to this day. And it was a common theme. Like I said, most of these toys were turned down in the beginning. A lot of them almost went bankrupt. A lot of them lost a lot of money and revenue. And some of these companies like Hasbro, Mattel, these big companies almost had to go bankrupt and close down because of the failure of one toy line. And I like that. I like that because they kept, I don't like that they almost failed, but I like the fact that in spite of all of the failures and people turning them away and people telling them no and losing money and almost going bankrupt and this isn't going to work, they kept going. And eventually, all of these toy lines and these companies that are in the show became super popular household names and made these companies tons of money and continue to this day actually to be popular. Even though a lot of these were from the 80s and 90s, they're still popular today. And it's kind of neat because the generations from that grew up in 80s and 90s can share these things with their kids, and they're redoing some of the toys like My Little Pony. Star Wars will always be popular, Star Trek. But it's just really cool to see that these things that we see as super successful, super popular, that we take for granted. Oh, Star Wars is just always... No, it wasn't. In fact, the Star Wars one is the first episode of season 1 for the show, and it's probably the most interesting because no one wanted to make the Star Wars toys. No one wanted anything to do with, I think they called it a space western movie. They thought the movie was going to bomb. Nobody wanted anything to do with it. And all of the big toy companies turned them down. And Lucas ended up making a deal with Kenner, which was a nobody toy company at the time. Very small company. No one knew who they were. So that was interesting. And then they became very big. The wrestling one, which is in season 3, about was it WWF when Hulk Hogan and Macho Man were popular. That one's pretty interesting to see too, because that was another one where people just didn't want anything to do with it, and then smaller companies got to get the licensing and made lots of money, and the bigger companies were like, oh man. And then it's just interesting to see how they created the toys too. So, you know, aside from the whole motivational, oh my gosh, these guys all failed, they were all turned away, they were all denied, they were all turned down, and they kept going. That part's super motivational and super encouraging to small businesses and small business owners. But just the interesting part of how the creators created the characters and which toy developers came up with the ideas, and they almost always had to have a cartoon attached to the toys because they thought they wouldn't sell if the kids didn't have a cartoon. So it's just definitely a really interesting show. It's motivating. It's fun to watch. It's revisiting your childhood for most of us, and it's so interesting how they started these toy lines. So it is on Netflix, and it's called The Toys That Made Us. There's 3 seasons. Each season has 4 episodes, and they're about 45 minutes to an hour long, so you can watch them in little like chunks, a little bit at a time, maybe while you're taking photographs or listing, just kind of something to put in the background. By no means am I saying go binge on 12 hours of TV and do nothing, but they're absolutely interesting, and you guys should absolutely watch them. The idea that you have to fail to succeed for some people is really scary, and it really shouldn't be, because nobody's going to do anything for the first time perfect. Anytime you start something new, or you try something new, or you're creating something or building something, the first time you do it, you're still learning. You don't exactly always know what you're doing, and because it's still a learning process, you'll do things wrong, you'll make mistakes, and that's okay as long as you continue to learn from those mistakes and not make them again, and take all of the things that are going wrong and figure out how to do them right. It's absolutely okay to fail. It's not a bad thing. I think failure has this stigma on it, and it makes people feel defeated and bad about themselves, or even embarrassed sometimes to tell people they failed. And it really shouldn't. It should be a story that you tell. It should be your war story that you tell people. Like, when I first started selling on eBay, I didn't know what I was doing, and I bought all this bad inventory, but then I took the little bit of money I made from that, and I did research, and I watched YouTube videos, and I joined Facebook groups, and I learned, and I turned that around into better inventory, and then learned from that. I mean, it should be like, that should be your story. You should be able to tell people what your failures were and how you turned them into a positive, without that stigma attached to it or being embarrassed. Because I'm here to tell you that everyone in everything in life, the first time doesn't know what they're doing. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has to fail to succeed. Everyone. That show really brought that to light, with those huge companies almost going bankrupt sometimes, or being turned down. Nobody wanted to do the toys. But even like Bill Gates, Benjamin Franklin, Albert Einstein, all of these people that were creators or inventors didn't succeed the first time. Alexander Graham Bell, that's another good example. One of my favorite examples, because he's one of my favorite authors, is Stephen King. He was turned down a lot. He was, I think, 27 when he published his first book, and he had been trying for a long time to get published, and he had short stories in magazines and stuff. But even Stephen King, who is the #1 horror writer, household name, was turned down and turned away, and had his manuscripts turned back to him and told, these aren't good, we're not publishing them. And he kept going, and he kept writing, and look where he is today. And then all of those inventors I talked about, they have to invent something that doesn't work to fix what didn't work, to do it again and again and again until it works. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the show, and, you know, drop some names on you guys, like Alexander Graham Bell, Benjamin Franklin, Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, all these people that struggled in the beginning, and finally became something in spite of the hurdles and the obstacles and the failures and the being turned down and turned away. They still made it. So whenever you stumble, whenever you make a mistake, whenever you do something wrong, it's okay. Just learn from it. Look at what you did. Figure out where you went wrong. Figure out why you made the mistake, and you can fix it. There's no reason to quit, to feel bad, to be embarrassed, or any of that. When you make a mistake or you do something wrong, figure out what it was you did wrong, how you can do it right moving forward. And when you make mistakes, figure out why you made mistakes. If you list late at night and you're finding that you're putting in the shipping wrong, or the price is wrong, or you're making typos in your titles, maybe it's because you're tired. Now, this is just an example, but that's a good example. If you keep finding mistakes in your listings and you sit down and think about it, maybe it's because you're listing at a time when your brain isn't at its optimum awakefulness. And then you can like adjust that and start listing at a different time. But when you do something wrong, there's always a way to look at that and reshape it into doing it right. And whenever you make mistakes, there's always a reason behind it, and you can figure it out, and then you can do better moving forward. The only way you can get better, I think, is to make mistakes and learn from them, and not to feel defeated, not to feel embarrassed. Pick yourself up, figure out what you can do differently and how you can be more successful moving forward. And don't be defeated. Don't worry if things, you know, if you feel like you got turned down or turned away, because even the most successful people in the world met with failure and met with rejection at some time, and they just kept going. So I wanted to say Happy New Year's, guys. As we move into 2020, kind of think about what I've been saying and do things differently if you need to. But be okay with yourselves when you make mistakes or do something wrong. So Happy New Year's, guys. And before I let you go, I did want to mention that we are running a Happy New Year's sale. Just for the group members. You'll get the link will be in the Facebook group. So if you're not in our Facebook group, join our Facebook group. It's Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. Link is down in the description box below. But when I get the post up today through midnight tomorrow night, we will be offering, if you purchase our plush guide, you can get an eBay store review for $5. So for $24.99 you get the plush guide and a store review. And I say till midnight tomorrow night, unless I forget to take the link down. I don't know. So it might go a little bit longer. But it will be available at least for all of New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. purchase the Plush guide and get a store review for $5. If you just want a store review, they are still $9.99 for group members. And after the new year, I'm going to be putting a link out publicly to offer to more than just our group members, and the price will be going up to $14.99. So if you were on the fence and you didn't know if you wanted a review or not, now's the time to move before the price goes up, or get a Plush guide and get a review for $5. So that will be a post in the Facebook group I'll be putting up as soon as I get this video up, and only available for group members. And an appreciation to you guys for joining the group, supporting us, and making the group such a wonderful place to be. It really is a really great Facebook group. It's very positive. Everyone in there is just so amazing. It's a little corner of the internet it's nice to be in. So join our Facebook group. Look for those specials if you're interested in them. Be safe tonight, guys. It's New Year's Eve. Please don't drink and drive. Please be responsible. And please be safe so that you're with us in 2020 to continue building our businesses and creating more profits and sales together and learning together and improving. So hit the thumbs up before you guys leave. It really helps the channel. And let me know what you think in the comments. As always, you can tag me in Facebook if you need me. You can leave comments on the video. You can email me at flippinhipposhelp@gmail.com. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're at flippinhippos on all social media. Until next time, I usually say what? Go be productive and go make money. It's New Year's Eve. Go have fun. Go enjoy yourself, but please be safe about it. Happy New Year's, guys. Happy 2020. I'll see you next year. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us all of 2019. You guys are the absolute best. Love you guys. Bye.